Hi everyone, my name is Anne. Thanks for tuning in to Art on the Creek, and we are in my home studio in Parker, Colorado. Welcome. I'm glad you've stopped by today. I have something fun, quick, and easy for us today for a beginner watercolor lesson. I don't know about you, but I am pretty tired of winter at this time of the year. It's towards the end of February as I'm filming this, and I am really ready for a vacation. I am ready for spring. I'm ready for sunshine, and we have had two days with sunshine and temperatures in the mid 60s. So it has been absolutely delightful. The one thing that might be missing is the sound of waves lapping up on the shore. And we just don't have that here in Colorado. So for our beginner watercolor lesson today, let's paint a nice landscape of a beach. Are you ready? Get your flip-flops on and let's go. I think we'll have a lot of fun with this one today because we really don't need that many supplies and we only need 25 minutes. So let's take a look at what we're going to be using today. Normally I recommend the Princeton Snap watercolor line, but I found these brushes and I was really excited to try them. They are by Da Vinci Brush Company and they are from their Colineo line. I really love these. They feel so nice in the hand. Beautiful wooden handle. Gorgeous gray stain. It's tapered around the fattest part of the handle there so that you've got an easy grip. The ferrules, I want to say they're nickel. They're really nice. And the fibers, the filaments, are all synthetic. So these are going to give you a lot of great feedback. Lovely point on that. They're just a really, really nice brush. The 8 here, the 8 round, looks almost like my 8 long round. This is the Princeton Aqua Elite 8 round, and let's compare it to the 8 long so that you can see. Let me see if I can find that over here. Yeah, you can see it's just a little bit longer, so it really does have that extra oomph to it of being able to carry just that much more pigment. So I really am pleased with this 8 round as it is. And then coming in next, we've got this dagger brush, and that one is really quite lovely. It holds an awful lot of paint. It is a size 10. And then we have that number 12 shader, which is very, very nice. Lovely point, nice chisel. You can get into fine points, fine areas, little tiny areas. And the same is true of the dagger brush. So they have quite a line here in their flyer. If you're interested in expanding your view, or rather your reach of brushes, if you've been using the Princeton Snap or any other kind of golden Taklon man-made fiber brush, you might want to consider this one because I have found them to be really quite lovely. I do believe they are vegan, animal friendly, and they're pretty readily available. They're not cheap. I'm not sponsored by this company. I did purchase these with my own money, and I just wanted to share them with you because after I've used them now, I really enjoy them. So if you're looking to step up your game a little bit from a Princeton Snap or any kind of entry-level golden Taklon kind of man-made fiber brush, this Colineo set might be exactly what you're looking for. The paper that I'm using today is a bamboo from Hahnemühle, and I've got my palette of the Renaissance watercolors. You can see them out there sitting in the tubes. I just scooted them off the camera. That is a review that will be posted tomorrow. So if you're interested in those watercolors, I've got a review coming on that tomorrow. This is what's left of my palette after I painted with that review. And I thought, oh, these are so fun. What does this color palette remind me of? And what I landed on was the beach. So here's our reference photo today. Let me show you what I've got going on here. This photo will be linked in description. It is from Unsplash, which is a free reference photo site for artists. Anytime you don't know what to paint, check out Unsplash or Pixabay or Paint My Photo. That's on Facebook. There's all kinds of free reference sites and pages available for artists. And that way you can use a reference photo without having to worry about copyright infringement. So that's, excuse me, That's what I use for us here today because I do not have a photo of a beach in my camera, not at the moment. So we're just going to go ahead and use this one here today. I really like these paints. I like the limited palette. It comes in a primary kind of a CMY palette. It's phthalo blue, magenta, and yellow. And the yellow here is very warm. It's like an azo nickel yellow or nickel azo yellow. And the magenta is kind of a purple magenta, and then the blue is phthalo blue, as I mentioned, and then we have a turquoise in addition to that, which is actually a phthalo turquoise. So it's really quite nice for painting scenes like this. And when I looked at my palette when I was done testing and doing the painting that I did for the review, it just said, oh, this looks like a beach to me. So I have mixed here a dark with the red, yellow, blue, and maybe some of the turquoise is picked up on the palette as well there, but very easy to do. You can lend it toward a little bit of green, toward a little bit of brown. That's why I love mixing my darks, because depending upon how you adjust the recipe, adjust those ratios of the colors that you've got going in your dark mix, you can really determine different value tones to come up. For instance, this is actually a very dark green in here, which I really liked for this particular one, because what it does is it allows me to suggest that those hills have a lot of lush greenery on them, but they're so far off in the distance that we can't really see what exactly that greenery might be. I really enjoy mixing my darks that way. Of course, your go-to mix for an all-purpose dark that I really like is French ultramarine and burnt sienna. And that is such a nice mix to have on your palette, because you can use both of those colors either individually, of course, or to lend toward a gray, toward a very dark blue, or a very dark deep brown. But for today, we're using all three of the primaries to create this lovely mix, and I must have some of that turquoise in there because it did lend a little green. Now I've switched over to the other brush, and this is the dagger brush, and I'm just going into primarily that turquoise. Look how clear these paints are. They're really kind of nice. And I'll talk about them more quality-wise in the review tomorrow, so I don't want to give too much away. But you can definitely see how they perform on this bamboo paper, which is one of my favorite papers for mixed media. It's really quite nice, and they're very easy to use. I like the clarity behind these colors. What I'm doing is, whenever you paint water, the darkest colors in the water are going to be farthest away from you. All I've drawn are the hills, the horizon line, and the wave lines here. So I'm trying to leave the wave area where the waves are breaking a little bit white. And you can see I'm watering down the paint more as it gets closer to the shore where we're standing, because that way the water won't be as deep and that blue-green won't be as intense. I'm also adding a little bit of yellow to it there so that it will have more of that green tone to it. And now I've gone in and I've added, I think I mixed the phthalo blue and the magenta here. What I've done is I'm adding this deep dark blue to create the shadows from the waves. Now the darkest shadow points are going to be off in the distance, and I'm just kind of going back and forth in a horizontal zigzaggy fashion to create these waves and how they would break. You can do this so many different ways. I really enjoy painting ocean scenes this way, where you have your lightest greenish turquoise shade down, and then you go just ever so darker on each subsequent layer with these wave shadows. And as you can see, as this is working, you can really see the water emerge. You can really see how this does evoke water very well, and it's very simple to do. If you'll notice on the horizon line, some of that turquoise and blue is seeping up into the mountain. I'm not going to worry about that right now. What I'm doing is I'm mixing some of the yellow with some of the magenta, because what I want to get is a nice brown, a nice golden tan brown for the sand on the shore. And I'm going to pull some of the blue in there to just get it a little bit deeper, because I will handle the shore the same way that I handled the water. I'm going to go in with a lighter value first, and then we'll come back and add our shadows. And the fun thing about working with beach sand, because there's so much texture to it, you can go in and drop in other colors, you can drop in water, you can do a whole lot of things to get the beach sand to look the way you want it to. So right now with this limited palette, I am just using the yellow and the magenta. And again, all of those colors, the yellow, magenta, the phthalo blue, and the phthalo turquoise are repeated in the hills and in the water. So when you use a limited palette like this, you really do have really good color harmony. If you are using either the Winsor Newton Cotman set or the Paul Rubens set that I typically recommend for my beginner watercolor lessons, you can certainly mix these colors equally well. You can go right in and use some of the browns that are ready mixed. One of those sets you might actually have a turquoise. If you have an emerald green, that's a really good one to use to mix turquoise from. Just mix a little bit of blue and yellow until you have the right amount of turquoise, and then if it's just not quite right, you can add some of that emerald green, and that will definitely get it toward the shade that you need for your ocean turquoise. So you'll see here's where I've gone in and I'm adding some more of this, some dropping in some of these pigments just to get some texture in. When you're working on the horizon, remember everything farther away from you is going to be darker. So what I'm doing now is I'm dropping in some water. I've just got water on my brush and I'm dropping in a little bit here and there on the horizon. And now I'm going to tip my book so that I can, not on the horizon, rather on the shore, I'm sorry. And now I'm going to tip my book so that I can let this water and watercolor pigment move around and just kind of do its thing. I'm just going to let it have fun here and play. And then I will go in and mix some darker pigment. I'm going to mix a richer version of this magenta with the yellow. I've got a little tiny bit of that yellow up there on the edge of the plate. And I'm just trying to put in a little bit more pigment here up near the back and right under the wave to create a shadow. Do you see how immediately that lifted that wave where it's breaking right off of the shore? This is the thing that will help you to understand watercolor more and more, and in fact all of your art. Shadows are your best friend. They will change whatever you're painting adjacent to your shadow. It will lift it up, it will lift it forward, it will give you so much more influence as an artist on your painting. You will be able to take what you see, shading it correctly gives you that license to be able to pull things away from one another, create that horizon off in the distance, and establish that shoreline that's up close. I've mixed another dark here, and I'm just going to go in and darken up these hills again, and this is where we can take care of that watermark, the little the background that seeped up into the hill. That's fine. We'll just reestablish this right here with these few brush strokes. We'll reestablish that horizon. Now, the thing about watercolor too that you will probably notice if you haven't already is that as soon as you paint something in one area, the other area that you've already painted will tend to look lighter. So oftentimes we do need to go back and apply another wash over something or another glaze. So that's exactly what I'm doing here. I am adjusting the value of the hills back here because they need to be darker. They need to be much darker so that they can stand out on the horizon, create sharper contrast between the water, the shore, and the sky. So now for a little while, let me just go ahead and we'll add some musical interlude here so that you can have a nice relaxing Zen moment listening to some beautiful tropical music while we are painting this. And when we come back and do the foam on the ocean, I will be right back with you. finishing touches on our beach scene, what we want to do is really add some foam to these crests of the shallow waves that are coming in. We just want to be able to catch those kind of seafoam bubbles and really just give this some extra energy. So I'm going in and using some bleed-proof white. Here's a close-up view of it. I'm just using the lid as my palette. And what I'm doing is I'm just using the very tip of my number 8 round brush to use this full strength. I haven't watered it down really at all. My brush is damp though. And I'm just tapping in the bubbles and splashes that would naturally occur along these ridge lines where the wave is breaking. This is a good way to give a lot of motion and energy to your piece. It's just a really fun way to do it. You certainly don't have to do this. It's entirely optional, my goodness, but you can see I'm having some fun with it. I'm going off of that line just a little bit, creating some random little splashes, just some happy instances of foam leaping up for joy that it's reaching the shore. So this is a really fun way to add some dynamism to your painting. Now, if you didn't have this bleed-proof white, you could certainly use gouache. I think that would be your best option. A white gel pen, it's possible to do with this, but I don't think that you'd have big enough dots. You could use a paint pen, that would certainly work. Any kind of acrylic paint pen ought to do it for you, but I really like using the brush because you're never going to get dots that are the same size. Another good way to do this is to simply splash it on with some splatter technique. In order to do that, you might want to cover up some of your painting and of course your work area so you don't splash all over. But let's skip to the end and I will show you what the final piece looks like so that you guys can also wish with me that you were maybe in the Bahamas somewhere. Here we are, here is the final, and I hope that you can hear the ocean with me. I hope that you guys really enjoyed this one and that it gave you just a small reason to escape. Have a wonderful creative week, everyone, and we will see you next time right here on Art on the Creek. Take care. Bye now.